שמש דקה ומרפא בכנפיה.
In the days of the judging of the judges, there was a famine in the land. A man of Bethlehem in Judah went to live as a migrant in the fields of Moab. He himself, his wife, and his sons. The name of the man was Elimelech. The name of his wife was Naomi. The name of his two sons were Machlon and Chilion. 3 times we have there in Hebrew, and I'd like you to hear that in Hebrew, it only says Vashem, 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 and the name, and the name, and the name, and somehow the narrator seems to point to something. He doesn't give any characterization of the persons he's introducing to us. He doesn't tell us how old they are, he doesn't tell us how they look or how they're clothed. He simply and only tells their names, and it's names that do not occur anywhere else in the Old Testament. And then there is something else. We have in 2 verses on another 2 names. It says there Shem, Vashem. The name of the one is Orpah, and the name of the other one is Ruth, and then it goes on, Vayishvu Sham, and you hear it if the name is Shem, and then it says there, Sham. It's very, very similar, and we actually have in these 3 verses something very interesting that we have 3 times Vashem, and it's like a melody. You have to hear that in the text, Vashem, 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 Vasham, Vashem, Vashem, Vasham. It is the name, the name, the name, there, the name, there. So there's going on something, and if you say there, this person, and you give it a name, a very specific name, you can afterwards say the name without pointing at him or her, and still you're pointing at them. So a name gives the possibility to interact, and name gives an identity. It's talking about the nature, the essence of a person. It talks about reality, a vocation, an ultimate destiny, a place assigned. When the Creator asked Adam to name the animals, he basically includes him into his creational act. He gives him part in the creational act. Or think of the Tower of Babel. The people there went out, and their goal was to make a name for ourselves. Or God promises to Abram, when he calls him, I'll make you a great name. Or centuries later, through the prophet Isaiah, God tells the servant of the Lord, the people of Israel, I've called you by your name. You are mine. And then remember, it's very significant that we have here the whole picture. Remember the changes of names. When Abram was called Abraham, when Sarai was called Sarah, when Jacob was called Israel, or it goes throughout the whole Bible up when Jesus calls Shimon Kepha, or Peter. And then there are explicitly prophetic names in Scripture. I just want to pick out 2 prophets. The prophet Isaiah, who named his 3 sons, She'ar Yashuv, Immanuel, and Mahershal al-Khashbaz. So he gave them names that said something about the situation, where he basically connected these people, his sons, with what he wanted to say or what he had to convey to the people of Israel. Or the prophet Hosea was the other one who called his children Israel, Lo Rohama and Lo Ami. And then it goes on. You can again go through to the New Testament, where John the Baptist or Yeshua, Jesus, got names that had a prophetic character. Now, how do we know that the name of a person has an effect upon his or her life? It's Rabbi Elazar in the Talmud who says they have an effect, and Scripture proves it. And he quotes Psalm 46, where he says, "Come, see, look, check the works of the Lord, who has done many, it says now in your translation, desolations in the earth or in the land." And Rabbi Elazar says, don't read Shamot, desolations or destructions, but rather read Shemot, which means names. So then Psalm 46 verse 9 should be read as, "Come, look out the wonderful works of the Lord. He has set names in the earth, in creation." I could continue here, and it's a breathtaking, a wonderful theme to talk about the names and think about that God wrote a book in which He writes all the names or notes names. So God has a notebook, and think about that. The name is one of the very, very few things we can take into the world to come, into the life after death. So, but I want to point out just one more thing. We try to see the Megillat Ruth, the book scroll of Ruth, in the context of the book of Judges. And in Judges you see that in the beginning everybody has a name. It starts with names and people acting, and then it gets bad and worse and worse and worse, and people lose their names. In the end you have a bunch of people who do cruel, terrible things to each other, and none of them has a name. They only serve any interests. They serve good feelings. They serve aims, but they are not persons anymore who could be valued or who would deserve compassion.